today, one final time in the regular season here on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh and Joe Lisi as we close out Week 18 in the National Football League. We started to make some dents, if you will, yesterday with two major games in the NFC South and NFC West. The Bucs win, don't cover, 16-14 over the Carolina Panthers, keeping their postseason hopes alive. And then Seattle with, dominant doesn't feel right, but it doesn't feel wrong, a controlling victory over the Niners to clinch the number one seed and the NFC West.
Yeah, both games were playoff type of caliber games, right? Yeah. A lot of chips in the middle of the table, the rewards to potentially win the division and get into the playoffs and secure the NFC number one seed were on the line, and we saw a very, I want to say, methodical, blue-collar type of games on both sides of the football for both games. Weather did play a part in the Tampa Bay-Carolina game. Yeah. We saw Tampa Bay bounce back into form and find a little bit of momentum. It wasn't that impressive, but they grinded it out, you know, and did what they had to do. On the flip side, you bring up Seattle's performance, and Sam Darnold didn't light it up, but he played it well enough to put his team in a position. But we talked about it in the pregame. The best defensive unit did fall on the Seattle Seahawks, and I think they proved that yesterday with the performance, confusing Brock Purdy, forcing him to throw quickly, forcing him not to feel comfortable in the pocket. There wasn't a stitch of a rushing attack with Christian McCaffrey, and that game was basically won in the trenches. We knew San Francisco, at least on paper, had the better, more explosive offense. Yeah. But Seattle, with that rushing attack, they wore down San Francisco and just asserted their will in the second half, and that's why they won by 10 points.
Yeah, I think, Joe, for Seattle, it was the type of performance that will give people a lot of, I mean, they're the Super Bowl favorites.
Hopes.
Right? So the idea is, hey, can Sam Darnold win a big game? Well, they've now won 2 of their last 3 games have been monster games against the Rams and the Niners. I'm still left with some questions, and we'll dive into those questions. We'll dive into not only what we learned yesterday from Tampa Bay, Carolina, but, of course, the now increasing in importance matchup between the Falcons and the Saints. Yeah. A Falcons victory in Carolina, despite losing yesterday, will go to the playoffs. A Saints victory or a tie, I believe, will send Tampa Bay into the postseason. We still, of course, have a great slate to break down today. And I know people might try and push back on a great slate, but I think it's sometimes fun to get a completely different taste. And if you don't want to deal with any of that, you can then lock in, Joe, on a game that is just as big, if not bigger, than the 2 we saw yesterday, late night in Pittsburgh, with the Steelers and the Ravens. The winner is in the playoffs. The loser is out of the playoffs. And the loser is not just going to be out in terms of the Steelers and the Ravens. It'll be a loud offseason, very, very likely, for whoever drops this game between Baltimore and Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, that's the marquee game. We'll see. Lamar Jackson will play in that matchup. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers and that team had everything in front of them. They limp out last week in Cleveland, 3.5-point favorites, and don't take care of business. So that is going to be an intriguing game. You know, we have the 1 o'clocks and the 4 o'clocks, and you bring up Atlanta and New Orleans. That's an intriguing matchup because you have both teams that are trending right now. They're playing probably their best football at the end of the regular season, and you could see this game going either way. I mean, it wouldn't shock us if New Orleans pulls off the upset and moves to 7-10, and if Atlanta moves and picks up this victory, 8-9, the coulda, woulda, shoulda for Raheem Morris and this team. One bad break early in the year, and potentially they could have been, holding an NFC South title. So I am curious to see how these games play out, and we also have those incentives across the board for multiple players as well that make these games at least watchable from the gambling perspective.
So I think it's a good point to bring up early on here, Joe, is just the incentive betting. 4 years ago, maybe 3.
Became more prominent, right?
Well, it wasn't. I feel like Week 18 is almost, for a lot of people, just all about betting incentives. And that's totally fine. You know, they're so acknowledged, right? Schefter tweets them out. But the thing is, they are so acknowledged. And by the way, it's not just the contract incentives. Justin Jefferson needs 53 yards to get another 1,000-yard season on the board. one sports book is not offering his 50-plus alt receiving because they find it to be that obvious, that in the barn. They know people will look to not maybe some will play it straight, but will also just go out there and tag it into every single parlay that they want. So books are, again, we know it's, you're very rarely going to catch them by surprise. But, Joe, as far as the incentives go, they know it as well as ever. You have situation, Tony Pollard needs 2 rushing touchdowns today for an incentive.
Right.
Great. Are the Titans going to score 2 touchdowns against the Tennessee Titans? But you're not going to be getting a great number, or I don't think at least, on Pollard for 2 rushing touchdowns. Now, it doesn't mean there's not some value in incentives, but you've got to, I think, really pick your spots. Yeah,
I think that's a great point, and they've been priced, I think, as sharp as any year, right? Knowing how many eyes, how many people, to your point, are putting them into parlays with the hopes of getting them. Let's look at yesterday, right? Rico Dowdle collects $1 million for the 7 rushing yards. He did have a rushing touchdown. A lot of people played that at plus 165 with the hopes of Dowdle hitting pay dirt. It didn't come through. It was Tommy Tremble and some of the other players. But I think it's prominent, and now, right, where we talk Justin Jefferson, and I did play him just in one, not on the 50, but the 80, because if he's going to blow through that, I might as well get an alt number to some capacity. His number's 59.5. But I'd rather take incentives on guys that it means more for, like the secondary options, right? Not the pure number one.
Where that chunk of change actually,
where it's out there. Like I'm not saying this one, but like Kendrick Bourne, I think needed 10 yards for
Joe.
250.
Yep.
It's going to mean more for Kendrick Bourne.
100%.
And I would much rather be on a secondary option like that than knowing that all the money's on Jefferson today.
Yeah.
And to your point, Puka and some of the other guys, because we just know how this game works, right? I would rather be where the money's not on a Week 18 slate, where they're just pumping out props and they're pumping out incentive bets with the hopes of just luring and sucking everybody in.
But I actually think, and we can kind of stick on this for a moment, because I think it creates one of the more fascinating situations, Justin Jefferson, where we're all going to be keyed. A lot of people be keyed in on, can he get to 53, right? And listen, I think there is some real value in. Listen, just because something's minus 300 doesn't mean it doesn't have value, right? Which is around what he has to get to 50. But also, with J.J. McCarthy at quarterback today, do you think that group are going to feel great about a 50-yard performance? We know how explosive Justin Jefferson is. I think indoor game, right, in Minnesota, what makes this team feel great? Justin Jefferson for 125 yards. So I think there's meat on the bone there, if you will, with a number like that. We also, by the way, have plenty of seeding that is still up for grabs today. Due to and we're going to get more into the Niners loss, they're now going to be the 5 or the 6. Rams incredibly incentivized to now go up to the 5 seed. They already seemingly wanted to do just that. You could argue this is extra incentives for the Eagles or the Bears, potentially, with the 2 and the 3 conversation.
Right.
We still have the number 1 seed as well, Joe, up for grabs in the AFC. Denver, though, of course, a huge favorite, around 13.5 against the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think for the top teams, right, that you mentioned, Rams, Eagles, and the Rams will be playing their starters. It's still good, even if the backups are in there, to get them game preparation and not just run a vanilla type of offense, because you never know in a playoff type of situation when a quarterback or a skill guy is going to be called upon to make a difference. Let's not forget Brock when he gets knocked out of the NFC Championship game. And the multitude of injuries that we've seen throughout the playoffs, you need to have these players ready. And that's why I think, again, across the board, we have to pick and choose what game matters. But again, I think that's an option today.
What we're going to do next is dive into Carolina, Tampa Bay, and can the Falcons put the Panthers into the postseason? We'll talk about it after the break right here on SportsGrid.
LeBron James gets that news today. What is today?
Today's his birthday.
Oh, I'm sorry? The greatest birthday gift that LeBron James has ever gotten is the reality, the smack in the face that he's no longer an all-star.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Like Alabama, right? Is there a team that scores more than Alabama? No, right? But they're actually an under team over the last couple of years because their numbers are so high. You get these Americans in Queens College or Denver. Who the hell's betting on them, right? Nobody. So the lines stay low. They're just like, no one's hopping all over them. But every time you see an Alabama game, you're betting over, but you're losing money because the numbers are so big.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Sometimes those coaches do get the axe regardless of what the owner said just a few short weeks ago. And sometimes, Joe, you can't have it both ways. Like a Jets fan, you probably want them to tank. They're doing a really good job of that by not even being competitive at this point. But at the same time, you sort of want it to be, yeah, we're not competitive winning games, but it looks like we have a future. We might have found our quarterback. We got a good foundation. Nothing is going right.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
He's out again. Anthony Davis is injured once again and is going to miss time with the Dallas Mavericks for a minor groin strain. Likely will miss a few games. And I don't even know what a few games is to Anthony Davis because Anthony Davis seems to always be missing time.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
16-14 in Tampa Bay. The Bucks win, don't cover, and under to start off Week 18. For Baker and the boys, they came out on fire. Bucky was running well. Baker was also running well. And he hit Kate Otten for a touchdown, and the energy was there. And then we got into another one of those mucky, NFC South games. What was your biggest takeaway from that game yesterday, Joe?
They found enough to get the W. Now, again, when we're looking at assessment and we're saying if they do get into the playoffs, can Tampa Bay all of a sudden be that team? I obviously couldn't make a serious assessment because of the weather. I was impressed a little bit more defensively, but again, they're susceptible in the back end. We've seen it throughout the regular season. Yeah. Drake May abused them. Kirk Cousins abused them. Bryce Young, as bad as he was with the short to intermediate, found a number of different deep balls to Tet McMillan. One got called back with the OPI, but again, where's the offensive identity? They jump up 10-0. Baker throws an interception. Okay, he throws an interception. Then all of a sudden we get close to the vest again. Yeah. And that has been the MO of Tampa Bay, playing not to lose and allowing other teams back into the game. Yeah. Whether the weather be good or bad, it doesn't matter. They did the same thing to Atlanta. Where's the killer instinct? Where is hey, we scored 28. Let's look for 42. We keep talking about this, and again, it looks like the wide receivers are healthy, right? Right. Buck, the one thing for me, the offensive line, at least in the first couple of drives when it was, they came out and it was Tristan Wirfs and that offense were getting a push. Yeah. If they can run the football like that, I still think they could be that dark horse maybe to pull off one victory that we're not expecting. But I don't see the play calling being as dominant or explosive as it was with Canales and certainly Liam Cohen last year, that I don't believe this team is built for the long haul.
I hate to say it, but I think the Bucs in the victory really confirmed that they are completely drawing dead no matter who they play in the 4-versus-5 game. And I think even more than Carolina.
Really?
Because for the Bucs to come out and have that opening drive, Joe.
Right.
It was like, wow.
Yeah.
They're ready.
Right.
They're going to put a game together. Every interception that Baker throws, and Baker is now on, let me make sure I have this correct, 5 straight games with an interception. He has thrown an outrageous amount of interceptions during this losing streak. you can't trust them. The ceiling that the talent on this team suggests they have, they don't this year. Maybe it's because maybe some of these guys aren't as good as we thought. It's on the board that Bucky's not as good as we thought. Emeka's not as good as we thought. Wirfs isn't healthy. Baker might not be healthy. He injured his shoulder in that game against the Rams. Baker, right? Like, that stuff is all on the board to me. And I think that is a deflating feeling for me around a Bucks group, Joe, that we had wondered, hey, if they just get into the dance, do they have enough pedigree to make a run? And people say, well, how could you possibly think that Carolina could get on a run? Not a run. One singular upset. Maybe. Now, I think the very difficult thing for Carolina is if they end up playing the Rams, because they've already upset the Rams in Carolina. I think the dream scenario for the Panthers would have been either playing, truly, Seattle or San Francisco, just because, Joe, you haven't already beaten that team. That would have been my entire selling point on the situation, truly. Do you still believe Tampa Bay, and again, this is all going to come down to Falcons Saints, but do you still think Tampa Bay is the more threatening team as it pertains to winning a round one playoff game?
Yes, and here's the reason why.
Does Baker feel like he's playing that much better to you than Bryce?
No, but Baker, now, I know it was a long time ago, walked into Seattle and won 38-35.
Yes.
Bryce Young and this Carolina Panther team, I got to check it again. I believe they're 3-6 on the road this year.
Yep.
They lose to the Saints with an opportunity to solidify themselves as that team. They don't do it, and Bryce plays absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
And then again, sometimes Bryce Young just looks so confused. And Baker has looked like that as well at times.
True.
Running for his life and getting into these situations where, like, you go, what is he doing? Mm-hmm. But I know he's done it before. Baker, with the Browns, knocks off Pittsburgh. Baker knocked off your Philadelphia Eagles in a playoff win.
Yeah.
Baker went to Detroit when Detroit was dominant. Yeah. And, okay, he didn't win, but they covered that number, and he had the ball with an opportunity to tie it or win it in that game. So I believe in that. Yeah. Now, does that mean it's going to happen? No. But when I watch Bryce Young and this Carolina Panther team, it's like, here we go again. No rushing attack. He can't find an open guy. He the throws underneath are like, what are you doing? He can't hit a 10-yard hitch. He can't hit a 10-yard out. But then all of a sudden, he's rolling around. He hits Ted McMillan on a frozen rope. And you go, where was that over the course of the game? Yeah. And then we go back and, okay, so that one was an OPI. We come back. We have another 12 minutes of inconsistent quarterback play where he doesn't know where he wants to go with the football. And then all of a sudden, with 3 minutes left, he throws a perfect ball to Ted McMillan again. And you're like, okay, what is going on here?
Yeah.
But
I think the ability, Joe, just to flirt with that ceiling makes a difference.
Going up against Bryce, let me flip it on you. All right. McDonald, defensive-minded head coach. Yeah. You think he's more threatened by Bryce Young and that Carolina offense, or he's more threatened by Tampa Bay and Baker that beat his ass earlier in the year? As a DC.
Look, the reality is he's played both of them this season, and one team, in terms of Carolina, was held to 10, and the other went to Seattle and scored 38.
And people were picking Carolina as the hot pick that week, catching 7.5.
I know, but Joe, there's just something about the Panthers to me. I know this is crazy. I know they lost the game.
They're going to have to run the football.
Joe, they have more mojo.
They do
it's
because
more likely. It's like Rico Dowdle buck 25. Like Ted McMillan's the best player I've ever watched. Like it just feels far more on the board than like, oh look, Baker's playing well again. I don't like to, that. I don't like to say that, but that's what we've watched from these teams, and I think it's a. But by the way, what this all really amounts to is the Rams, once again, with short numbers, because they're going to be laying over a touchdown in round one if they handle business today. Right. We'll talk NFC West after the break right here on SportsGrid.
LeBron James gets that news today. What is today?
Today's his birthday.
Oh, I'm sorry. The greatest birthday gift that LeBron James has ever gotten is the reality, the smack in the face that he's no longer an all-star.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Like Alabama, right? Is there a team that scores more than Alabama? No, right? But they're actually an under team over the last couple of years because their numbers are so high. You get these Americans in Queens College or Denver. Who the hell's betting on them, right? Nobody. So the lines stay low. They're just like, no one's hopping all over them. But every time you see an Alabama game, you're betting over, but you're losing money because the numbers are so big.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Sometimes those coaches do get the axe regardless of what the owner said just a few short weeks ago. And sometimes, Joe, you can't have it both ways. Like a Jets fan, you probably want them to tank. They're doing a really good job of that by not even being competitive at this point. But at the same time, you sort of want it to be, yeah, we're not competitive winning games, but it looks like we have a future. We might have found our quarterback. We got a good foundation. Nothing is going right.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
He's out again. Anthony Davis is injured once again and is going to miss time with the Dallas Mavericks for a minor groin strain. Likely will miss a few games. And I don't even know what a few games is to Anthony Davis because Anthony Davis seems to always be missing time.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Pro Football Today right here on SportsGrid. We're going to get to the NFC West momentarily. However, Joe, we have this matchup between the Falcons and the Saints with a lot on the line, quite incredibly here, as the Bucs need the Saints to pull off an upset. And I don't think it's far-fetched. I'll say that much. I understand the love for... I understand the love for the Falcons. You know, they get themselves that big win against the Rams. I think the number's a little too far gone. I know the Falcons are playing all of their guys. They're not a healthy bunch, though. Pitts, London, these are hobbled players in this game. And Shuck and the Saints have been playing good ball. No Chris Olave, that makes it worse. Maybe there's a prop or two that you like in this game, but just from a side perspective, who do you feel like wins this game?
I feel like if Atlanta's defense plays the way it did against the Rams, Watts in that secondary, I think it's going to be a long day for Tyler Shuck. And I think that's why we're seeing 3.5s in the market in favor of Atlanta, right? To get the push, to be able to run the football against an above average and one of the top defenses in the NFC, and not just run it, but abuse it, right? Mm-hmm. Almost 200 yards on the ground, or over 200 if you count Algier with the 195 from Bijan. How is New Orleans going to stop that? They have won 4 straight. I'll give them that. Yep. But we talk about weapons. I mean, clearly Atlanta is hobbled or not. Drake London and Pitts banged up, and Bijan and Algier are still going to play, are much better, I believe, than the group that New Orleans has. New Orleans, for me, has to run the football. And that now, Audric Estime did it last week. He rushed close to 100 yards, and they beat up on Tennessee. Mm-hmm. But are we going to have that in back-to-back road games? I'm not so sure. And here's the other thing. Let me just throw this out. I think I don't care that Atlanta's playing well now. Again, this is an organization for me. Hear me out. You're rolling your eyes. You could roll it. Raheem Morris needs to be fired. I know you'll disagree. There is no difference between this team underachieving expectations with Raheem Morris than what they had with Arthur Smith. And you can make the argument Kirk Cousins has been an added bright spot for them. Is Penix the guy? They have multiple questions that need to be answered in the offseason. But I am not buying into a winning streak when it's meaningless at the end of the year. Yeah. And they're going to try and win it for Raheem. But I'm telling you, big picture, he is not the answer.
So one interesting thing, by the way,
Because you
Falcons,
disagree.
No, well,
right?
well, first of all, I want to say this: the Falcons should not be incentivized to win. Okay, them knocking Tampa Bay out of the playoffs should not be a thing. I understand they don't own their draft pick; they do control what their schedule placement would be, and they project to have a much easier schedule with a loss than a win. That's just the reality of it. As far as it goes with Raheem Morris, Joe, I don't find him to be the most offensive coach in the league. I know there's some who totally agree with you that he's one of the worst going. However,
Go ahead.
due to the Falcons' setup, I think shaking things up is understandable because everyone feels so good about so much of the roster, right?
But
Between
that's not
Jalen
him.
Walker and James. No, that's my point. No, I'm agreeing with you.
Right.
In that, when people look at the Falcons, they go, hey, can we win with what's in-house?
Yes.
They think yes, right?
Yeah.
Bijan, London, Pitts figured it out. Okay, boom. Defensively, we've got Jalen Walker and James Pierce, the 2 first-rounders.
Watts.
It looks like they've
Watts
come
looks
through.
great.
Xavier Watts the star. Where did he go to school? Everybody knows. Thank you. Where'd he go?
ND.
Forget. Oh,
And,
interesting. Wow.
yeah.
I probably should have put
Pick
them in the
6
playoff.
against USC. There you go.
I probably should have put them in the playoff. Then.
All right, that's it.
Thanks.
That
That's
was
all.
2 years ago.
Well,
Okay.
all right. Well, I'm just saying. It's just how, if he went to JMU. So you have, to me, a Falcons group who could potentially make that move. Here's the interesting note for New Orleans.
Go ahead.
When we talk about incentives, this team has already now won enough to keep them outside of that top 5 draft pick range. They've done so with Shuck getting better and better and better by the game. And last game against the Titans, I know it's the Titans, but 333 yards, 5 incompletions, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. It, I think, makes it almost a certainty that Shuck's going to be the starting quarterback in New Orleans next year, which I never expected.
Right.
Never expected.
No, and that's
so I think the Saints are as incentivized to go for this game as Atlanta. I think the 3.5 story. I think it comes to it's the NFC South. I think 3.5 stories. I like New Orleans to cover at minimum in this game.
Yeah, you might be right. I think we get points in this game.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Kellen Moore's done a fantastic job. He weeded out the players that he needed to fit the scheme. He brings in Shuck. All of a sudden, he brings them along slowly, and they're peaking at just the right time. They win 5 straight in the offseason. There's no doubt that Shuck is the guy, but you need weapons around him. So we'll see. But to get back to Raheem Morris, and this is a deeper convo, we got to figure it out.
All right, let's get over to the NFC West. The Seahawks win right here on SportsGrid.
LeBron James gets that news today. What is today?
Today's his birthday.
Oh, I'm sorry. The greatest birthday gift that LeBron James has ever gotten is the reality, the smack in the face that he's no longer an all-star.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Like Alabama, right? Is there a team that scores more than Alabama? No, right? But they're actually an under team over the last couple of years because their numbers are so high. You get these Americans in Queens College or Denver. Who the hell's betting on them, right? No, but so the lines stay low. They're just like, no one's hopping all over them. But every time you see an Alabama game, you're betting over, but you're losing money because the numbers are so big.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Sometimes those coaches do get the axe regardless of what the owner said just a few short weeks ago. And sometimes, Joe, you can't have it both ways. Like a Jets fan, you probably want them to tank. They're doing a really good job of that by not even being competitive at this point. But at the same time, you sort of want it to be, we're not competitive winning games, but it looks like we have a future. We might have found our quarterback. We got a good foundation. Nothing is going right.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
He's out again. Anthony Davis is injured once again and is going to miss time with the Dallas Mavericks for a minor groin strain. Light league will miss a few games. And I don't even know what a few games is to Anthony Davis because Anthony Davis seems to always be missing time.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
right, back at the right here on Pro Football Today. In San Francisco, the Seahawks get a win. What an under. I got to say, I said to someone watching the game, it's not a bad game. Someone, yeah, you bet the under. Because usually I'd be screaming about how awful the game probably is, but this game at 13-3, the opening drive, Joe, set the tone with a 7.5-minute ball gets down to the 1, turnover on downs, no point affair.
Right.
There wasn't going to be a ton of points put up in this football game. A 3-point second half, right? A 13-3 final score ultimately here for the Seahawks. I ask you the same question I asked you with the Carolina and Tampa Bay game. What was your biggest takeaway from Seahawks-Niners?
Just how I believe now, to me, there's no doubt. I do believe the Seattle Seahawks have the best defensive unit in the NFC and maybe all of the league right now. They're physical. They have a front seven that gets after it. They're very good in run support. The back end could play man-to-man coverage, and they could utilize multiple blitz packages, which allows them to get pressure even on mobile quarterbacks. And I think that's a testament to what McDonald has done. And I think that when we think about dominant defensive performances, right, carrying for a Super Bowl, modern day, you think Tampa's success with Brady over Mahomes. You think of the Eagles' dominance over Mahomes last year with the front seven. Defensively, I think that Seattle could go toe-to-toe with anybody, right, in a playoff matchup.
Yep.
And here's the big if. If they don't turn the football over and they can run it effectively. And 2 of the 3 are true. and I'll keep going back to this. Look, he played well enough to get the victory yesterday, and I'll give him all the credit because he was in that situation last year, Sam Darnold, against the Detroit Lions, and he failed miserably.
Yeah.
But that was against a beaten-down defense in San Francisco, one of the worst statistical secondaries in the NFL that multiple quarterbacks have torched this year, okay? Sure. Do I think he could walk into the link and do that? Do I think he can, even at home, play the Eagles like that or the Rams again in that type of situation? No. And there you go. So turnovers in playoff games ultimately dictate whether or not you move on. And the key question mark for me, great job, Sam Darnold. You got the W.
Yeah.
Body of work. And if we played this scenario out 10 times, I guarantee you 5 times or 6 times, he's turning the football over multiple times. I'm not buying into it.
Joe, I understand.
You disagree?
No, I disagree because I don't think you were hard enough, is how I feel. We have now seen the Seattle Seahawks, after the 4-interception game against the Rams, played 2 of these monster games, a rematch with the Rams, and then against San Francisco. And their offensive strategy is, Sham, you will not lose this game for us. And he still, by the way, managed to almost do it against the Rams the second go-around, okay? And then the matchup with the Niners, it's just run, throw to an open JSN, keep right screen passes, all of a sudden Ken Walker, they're realizing how talented of a player he is. Charbonnet certainly got it going in terms of the ground attack. It, to me, has been clear as day for a long time that the Seahawks season will end with everybody going like, wow, Sam Darnold. Can't do that. That is just what I've seen from this group. And when I say, I don't believe I am or you are being stubborn and trust me, it'll eventually catch up to him. No, I feel stronger about the opinion watching him in these big games. They don't let him throw it all over the yard.
No.
They're horrified of what will happen if they do just that. And we always are attempting to evaluate the offense through the lens of the quarterback, and the quarterback, in my opinion, of the number 1 seed is not to be trusted. But on the San Francisco side, their season might as well have ended yesterday. This team goes into that game, no Trent Williams, no Ricky Pearsall. Well, who knows if those guys are back next week. Brock Purdy looked like they were going to bring the card out for him on the final play of that game, as he's getting smashed. George Kittle's not 100% healthy. The pipe dream of Fred Warner coming back's not happening. And now, a pitiful defense. By the way, it's like, ooh, they held them to 13. No, yeah, okay. That's because the Seahawks did about a gazillion things wrong. Did Seattle even punt in that game? Once or twice,
I think
maybe.
once in the first half.
They punted one time. I mean, it was just, they moved the ball, it felt like at will in that football game, right? And now, the cherry on top is for the San Francisco offense, Joe. They are going, if they end up the 5 seed, to Tampa or Carolina. They'll be booked as a favorite, sure. If not, they go to Chicago or Philadelphia. I don't think there's going to be a lot of trust in the Niners there. I've said this to you, preseason pick on the Niners to win the conference. And if the Niners had a healthy season, this whole thing might be different. But they didn't.
No.
And they had an opportunity to salvage it by winning a home game against the Seahawks, and they could have maybe, despite all of these injuries, got themselves the run out that they needed to get it done this year. And I believe that they absolutely blew it yesterday. And to some degree, though, Joe, the way that they blew it is they just weren't good enough. They don't have the horses defensively. And unless Purdy is throwing lasers, it's not going to work out. But they couldn't block, and I know that has to do with Trent Williams not being there. The ground game was abysmal and non-existent all at the same time.
Yeah.
It's not there. I want to make sure I ask you about the Rams and the Cardinals, though, because this Rams team, and it's almost like it was a mini gamble, I think, a little bit for McVay that paid off. He said, we're playing guys the whole way against Arizona. But if Seattle lost, that would have looked silly. They'd have been locked into the 6th seed. But instead, they now have incentive to get up to the 5, play the winner, or whoever, I shouldn't say winner, whoever comes out of the NFC South. And they're a 14-point favorite here against the Arizona Cardinals. I will say the number looks insane. Arizona usually can move the football, stay inside 14. But if the Rams, here's the thing. If the Rams lose this game, what even do you make? Again, they're a 14-point favorite for a reason. Upsets happen. This would be one of the more astonishing of the year. It
would be, but again, we talk about, look, I understand about resting starters, right? I get it when you have an aging football team, or especially an older quarterback. I understand that you don't want to risk injury. On the same level, you want to be playing your best football at the end of the season, peeking into the playoffs, as opposed to like a team like Tampa Bay searching for answers to try and grind out a win. And when we look at this team, as good as it looked in the middle half of the year, when they were beating up on a Lamar Jackson, list team in the Ravens and the Saints that didn't have their identity, and then San Francisco with Mac Jones, and it all looked good, like kumbaya. Matt Stafford and McVay are coming back for the second ring. They have now lost 3 of the last 5. So they're not playing well. Their victories are against the Lions, who now we know how good the Lions are defensively, right? And they still only won that game 41-34, and they beat up on the gutless Cardinals 45-17, who, by the way, I think are dead and buried. I mean, this team is checked out. They have multiple question marks as well. Yeah, they can move it if you give Jacoby Brissett and that offense 15 seconds to throw the football. They don't have a hint of a rushing attack. But if I'm McVay, I want to make sure I get back on track. If we have a 17-point lead in the first half, hey, rest the starters. If this is a 10-3 game at halftime, you got to be saying to yourself, I don't care that I'm going to, I'm the 5th seed and I'm playing the NFC South, whether it be Tampa or Carolina. I need to find my identity back. Otherwise, what are we doing?
So
they should smash them today.
Yeah, there's one quirky thing in this game that I think is really fun.
The Puka?
And it's something. I'll do the Puka yard stuff later. McBride and Nakua enter this game tied for the league lead in receptions. Mm-hmm. I love a world where they're just battling for that in game. It's just like
14 each.
I want to. So they have combo receiving yards. I thought combo receptions would have been fun. Something to keep your eyes on. All right, we get to the big one. Ravens Steelers after the break right here on SportsGrid.
LeBron James gets that news today. What is today? Today's his birthday. Oh, I'm sorry? The greatest birthday gift that LeBron James has ever gotten is the reality, the smack in the face that he's no longer an all-star.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Like Alabama, right? Is there a team that scores more than Alabama? No, right? But they're actually an under team over the last couple of years because their numbers are so high. You get these Americans in Queens College or Denver. Who the hell's betting on them, right? Nobody. So the lines stay low. They're just like, no one's hopping all over them. But every time you see an Alabama game, you're betting over, but you're losing money because the numbers are so big.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Sometimes those coaches do get the axe regardless of what the owner said just a few short weeks ago. And sometimes, Joe, you can't have it both ways. Like a Jets fan, you probably want them to tank. They're doing a really good job of that by not even being competitive at this point. But at the same time, you sort of want it to be, yeah, we're not competitive winning games, but it looks like we have a future. We might have found our quarterback. We got a good foundation. Nothing is going right.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
He's out again. Anthony Davis is injured once again and is going to miss time with the Dallas Mavericks for a minor groin strain. Light league will miss a few games. And I don't even know what a few games is to Anthony Davis because Anthony Davis seems to always be missing time.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Here we go, Ravens, Steelers. Joe and I'm going to say this. Joe and I feel this season, more than any team in this league, have kind of sat down, we put our heads together on Baltimore Ravens games.
Feel like 90% hit rate.
That's what it feels like. Now, usually we kind of have to feel one another out. I don't want to jump the gun, but my head is, I'm somewhere, but I don't want to say too much. Where are you right now, Ravens, Steelers?
I'm going to take the dog.
All
I you know why?
Okay. Why?
Because, again, I feel like here it is, Lamar Jackson off the magic carpet. Here he comes. When he's going into – I'm just saying, it's like, the guy hasn't played in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. They've played their best football without him, per se. And now he's going to come back into this offense and all of a sudden just lead this team to a playoff appearance. And I do have concerns in a road environment. I don't know if he's healthy enough. They say he's healthy, but I haven't seen Lamar this year take games over with his legs the way he did at the end of the stretch last year. And I know it was ugly in that loss to Cleveland. And I know there's no DK Metcalf. I get that. But, again, 3.5 points, divisional matchup, home team. I would much rather take the 3.5. And I know it sounds crazy.
Yep.
But I worry about Harbaugh.
Yep.
And I worry, more importantly, about this Ravens defense that both defenses have been a sieve. Mm-hmm. But I do worry about the Ravens defense where I still think maybe Aaron Rodgers can find a little bit of mojo to find a little playoff magic and maybe carry this team to a division title. Is that crazy to say? Because I haven't been high on Pittsburgh, but I was very high on them with that road win over Detroit.
Yep.
I did pick them in that game.
Yes.
And they were able to run the football. If you tell me Jalen Warren and that group and Gainwell now are going to run for 140 plus, they win it today.
So from the side of it all, I gravitate towards the Ravens. Lamar is back. The Steelers against a high leverage team. The fact that the Ravens had this big Henry game, I think it's all there. But here's where I'm at, Joe. And here's what I'm wondering.
Total?
Joe.
Points?
Joe, I've heard in 1 million places, how in the world do the Pittsburgh Steelers score?
Now, come on.
That's all I hear.
Come on.
DK Metcalf out, Darnell Washington out. Okay.
They afford, if any team could afford a tight end.
And DK Metcalf might as well be a tight end. Rodgers in a big spot. I think they can move it offensively. The Steelers' defense we've seen has been Civ-esque in moments. I understand Watt is trending to be back in this football game. I look at this spot, Joe. I have not played it just yet. I find myself gravitating towards this total.
You could get me in. It's a Sunday night game. Yeah, I mean, let's see how the 1 o'clocks do. I mean, quite honestly, Can we get there? Like, I'm nervous already. Like, it's just.
By get you in, you mean actually we got to wait and see approach.
Yeah, I would like to win one of these. Like, I've been getting smashed. I'll be honest. Picks. I mean, some of the props have been going well.
Yeah.
A majority of them, you've been left at the altar. You know, just right at the door. But if we could get some mojo headed into the 4 o'clocks and obviously the late game, I buy into you. Again, points, Gainwell's been an added option for that offense, right? Not just in the rushing attack, but obviously in the receiving game.
Yep.
He has led this team in multiple games with receptions and yards. We talk about, okay, you lose DK and you lose Washington. Washington, obviously, 300 pounds with the blocking aspect. In the rushing, but you have Freiermuth, you have Janu Smith. Oh, by the way, you have Connor Hayward. I mean, you have tight ends that can catch and play well.
Let me ask you this. What do you expect from Lamar Jackson in this? Lamar specifically?
I don't know, because if you're asking me, what does Lamar need to do in this game?
Yeah.
I think Lamar needs to throw for 200.
Okay.
I think Lamar needs to rush for about 40. And I don't know if he's willing to do that or he's 100% healthy. If you tell me Lamar Jackson's going to tuck it and run, and when it's not there, he's going to put pressure on that Pittsburgh defense, and you can guarantee me that, I'm laying the 3.5. They win it by double digits. The problem has been we haven't seen it.
Right.
Where's the RPO game?
Yeah.
Where? I see hints of it. 20 yards. That's not good enough when the season is on the line. I need to see 40, and I need to see 50, and I need to see him work off of play action. And, oh, by the way, can you find a secondary option outside of Zay Flowers and Isaiah Likely? Can you find another wide receiver for me? Can you find Bateman? Can you find somebody else to scrape them up off the street in the passing game? Do you feel confident in that? Because I don't. All of a sudden now he's healthy? He's great?
So this
Where
is
was it against the Patriots then?
Yeah.
He was throwing at Flowers. He wasn't running.
I believe that Lamar Jackson, having not played against Green Bay, but getting that a little extra week of rest, I don't think he's going to be running all over. But I think he can be dialed in, because a lot of times you enter into games and as a team, you have no choice, but your absolute dead number one priority is Lamar. Joe, I don't think that's Pittsburgh's number one priority. I think that they are going to be so desperate to stop Derrick Henry on the ground that I think there will be avenues for Lamar in this game to hit big shots, to throw touchdowns. I'll say this. This team gets inside the 5. Yes, Derrick Henry is going to get the first carry, but Lamar is going to do some of the play actions. Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely. It's one of the reasons I like the over in this game is I think a player of Lamar Jackson's talent level, whether he's playing to the talent or not, we can debate, Joe. Well, I guess you can't debate. He's not, but when he becomes priority 2, I think you leave yourself very vulnerable. Do you disagree? Don't you think number one priority for Pittsburgh is to stop Derrick Henry?
Absolutely.
I also think this.
But that's why, but again, that is why, if you're asking me game plan-wise, you know they're key in Henry. You run the RPO game. You put Lamar on the edge. Remember the games down the stretch, Christmas Day? He runs for, 80 yards against the Texans? It was all Lamar Jackson on the ground at the end of the year last year. We don't see a consistent body of work this year. He's afraid to run.
Afraid versus not
all
healthy.
Right. Well, you're getting paid a lot of money. Gut it out.
Well, he'll be involved in my Sunday morning crunch, which is next.
LeBron James gets that news today. What is today?
Today's his birthday.
Oh, I'm sorry. The greatest birthday gift that LeBron James has ever gotten is the reality, the smack in the face that he's no longer an all-star.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Like Alabama, right? Is there a team that scores more than Alabama? No, right? But they're actually an under team over the last couple of years because their numbers are so high. You get these Americans in Queens College or Denver. Who the hell's betting on them, right? No, but so the lines stay low. They're just like, no one's hopping all over them. But every time you see an Alabama game, you're betting over, but you're losing money because the numbers are so big.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Sometimes those coaches do get the axe regardless of what the owner said just a few short weeks ago. And sometimes, Joe, you can't have it both ways. Like a Jets fan, you probably want them to tank. They're doing a really good job of that by not even being competitive at this point. But at the same time, you sort of want it to be, yeah, we're not competitive winning games, but it looks like we have a future. We might have found our quarterback. We got a good foundation. Nothing is going right.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
He's out again. Anthony Davis is injured once again and is going to miss time with the Dallas Mavericks for a minor groin strain. Likely will miss a few games. And I don't even know what a few games is to Anthony Davis because Anthony Davis seems to always be missing time.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
You got to crunch it up. Pro Football Today. Kevin Walsh, Joe Lisi. Joe, how do you feel?
I feel all right. I feel good. I wish it was like week 15, limited props across the board, so I really had to scrape the barrel today.
To Joe's points, we've got 3 apiece here. This is a slate, though, that I think you'll see even more numbers come through as the day goes on, so the menus could expand a little bit. So if there's something you're really looking for, be patient. But we still got you covered for now. Let's get right into it. It's your Sunday morning crunch. Joey, my friend.
You like it?
Your first play here,
yeah.
I really like.
Do you?
I really like. I didn't play.
Okay.
But I really like it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, Rocket Sanders, Raheem Sanders, going up against Cincinnati. We know how terrible that defense is, and I know Shador should throw it potentially all over the yard, but you need a hint of a rushing attack. Sanders was involved with Dylan Sampson last week. Yeah. Dylan Sampson got a majority of the carries, but he's a bigger back. He had 21 yards on the ground basically in the first half. They didn't go back to him. Yeah. 30 and a half, Kev. I think he could go, honestly. I mean, I might have to temper expectations.
All right.
But this kid that played in Arkansas and South Carolina can pound the rock. This kid could go for 80, 90 today. He's built like Quinshon Judkins. You're telling me 30 and a half on this kid?
I think here is what I will say.
How can't this guy, he's going to look like the galloping ghost.
Here's what I'll say.
That was Gale Sayers, by the way, I think.
Okay.
I think.
It's week 18. They're playing Cincinnati. Sometimes I tell you, take it easy. Raheem Sanders could absolutely go for 102. It's on the board. It's on the board. If they give him the full workload, if they lean a little bit off Sampson, not 100%, maybe not as impressed, Raheem Sanders could have a big day. I think 30 and a half is well within range.
Okay, so that's good. So you like it.
I like it.
Number 2, I went to the late game. I know Detroit, dead and buried, but Campbell's playing the starters.
Yep.
I don't have confidence across the board with Jared Goff in a cold weather environment. What I do have confidence in is Jahmyr Gibbs at least potentially breaking this game open on the ground. We saw McCaffrey have success on the ground, 59.5 for Jahmyr Gibbs. Yeah. I feel like that's a discount too. No?
Yeah,
I mean, unless you're telling me he's only going to play a half.
I don't think that's the case. I think Dan Campbell goes for the game.
Okay, well, if he goes to the game, Jahmyr Gibbs anytime is minus 210. I like him with the 59.5 rushing.
I think that that's well within range. I really like your last one here.
Do you
'cause I
really?
could use it. Yeah.
Okay, so Jacksonville's defense, look, they're playing lights out, but if you're Tennessee and you're playing this game, are you going to and I know Pollard needs 2 touchdowns, but at what point do you develop Cam Ward? At what point?
Right.
Like, I know you have a new coach coming in next year, but who's to say he can't throw it 40 times in this game? Like, what are we doing in week 18? Are we just walking through the motions, or are we actually trying to get this kid at least somewhat game ready for year number 2? 191.5 for an NFL quarterback?
Yeah.
Cheap.
I agree. I need.
And now the weapons stink.
I know. But I will say some of the season-long player props. You want to talk
You're
about going back to the drawing
this.
board
Here we
on
go.
the Kyle. The season-long play, I have Jalen Waddle. I need him for like 15 yards. He gets injured last week. He's not playing this week. The injuries, it's every guy. It's every single guy. Cam Ward, I think, gets there today for me at least, which will be nice and a little bit calming. I went for a 3-back here. We're one inside each window, all different expectations. Shedeur Sanders over 193.5 passing yards. The only time, because there's been some quarterbacks that have been injured, so it's kind of, the baton's been passed. The only game where Cincinnati didn't give up 200 passing yards was the Lamar Jackson 150 game, because I think it was like 24-0. They just didn't need it anymore. Sanders in, by the way, I don't mean to be dramatic, could be his last NFL start in his career. Like, that's on the board, right? I think he goes out there. I think he lets it fly. I think if you're Stefanski, who there's been a lot of chatter around potentially being let go, I think it's actually in his best interest to let Shedeur let it cook. Try and get to 250, 300, Joe Lisi style there. I like Sanders over. I love Tank Bigsby anytime touchdown. I thought this would be minus. The Eagles are favorites against the Commanders today because they should be. The Eagles' backups are better than the Commanders' remaining starting lineup, and that involves Tank Bigsby, I think, potentially having a 20-carry day. Maybe I'm too close to the situation, but I think Tank Bigsby's, look, this is a maybe not so secret. He's looked better than Saquon Barkley for about 2 months now, quite frankly. So Bigsby goes off. I like Lamar to throw 2 tonight. Plus 155 on a 2-time MVP to throw 2 touchdowns is outrageous. We're going to take Lamar Jackson on a Sunday nighter. We go through it all. Draft order, seeding. What is up for grabs in Week 18? Next, right here on SportsGrid.
LeBron James gets that news today. What is today?
Today's his birthday.
Oh, I'm sorry. The greatest birthday gift that LeBron James has ever gotten is the reality, the smack in the face that he's no longer an all-star.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Like Alabama, right? Is there a team that scores more than Alabama? No, right? But they're actually an under team over the last couple of years because their numbers are so high. You get these Americans in Queens College or Denver. Who the hell's betting on them, right? No, but so the lines stay low. They're just like, no one's hopping all over them. But every time you see an Alabama game, you're betting over, but you're losing money because the numbers are so big.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Sometimes those coaches do get the axe regardless of what the owner said just a few short weeks ago. And sometimes, Joe, you can't have it both ways. Like a Jets fan, you probably want them to tank. They're doing a really good job of that by not even being competitive at this point. But at the same time, you sort of want it to be, we're not competitive winning games, but it looks like we have a future. We might have found our quarterback. We got a good foundation. Nothing is going right.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
He's out again. Anthony Davis is injured once again and is going to miss time with the Dallas Mavericks for a minor groin strain. Likely will miss a few games. And I don't even know what a few games is to Anthony Davis because Anthony Davis seems to always be missing time.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.